All I can say is everybody wrote about these mythological creatures, and the Sphinx was obviously a hybrid, if it was in fact a hybrid, or was it just some body parts that were put together. But I'm going to tell you right now, I feel pretty confident in the fact that at least the head and the neck and that area had been alive at one time. And I am now of the opinion that the whole thing was actually a hybrid creature. All right, I know I did show the lion, but here it is again. So this is what it sure looks like it to me. Could have been, very well could have been alive. Now, this was obviously a hybrid creature. It had a head of a person. And there's that little lump that comes around the back and then it flares out. Now, this looks to me like fleshy material. Down here, it's all coated with tiles. But this goes all the way around the whole thing, this crack, which is what I would expect in this kind of dryness. Because there's got to be a really fluid attachment there that's just gave way all the way around. All right, here I filled in a little doodle here to try to make it a little more obvious what's going on. This is the rear haunch of this creature. Now, I showed where the tendons would come down to attach, because you need some real attachments where bones meet muscle. And in between you have tendons. And then you meet some muscle, and then the muscle carries down to pull the leg and do all that kind of stuff. Now, this has been eroded back here, as I showed before. Now, I'm going to erase the things I showed, because this red blood runs off easily. The tendons, not so easily. And here's what you see. You make your own determination. I'm showing what I think I see. These are the attachment spots. All right, and they run right up to the body. Now, this would have been more or less muscle coming over, filling this void here, coming down, almost rounding this. All right, and I think I showed the lion. All right, now I'm going to leave it with this. This is kind of interesting as well. There's a seam here which would be from his shoulders. And there's a seam here which would be at the back of the rib cage, possibly. There'd be more structural support here. I'm just guessing. This, I think, would be the attachment to the buttocks area. And we saw that bulge. And it sure looks biological to me. And then, of course, the arteries in the neck. All right, once again, that really looks biological to me. Now, I'm not sure what these bumps are. They've probably got something to do with, tendons or muscles or whatever, and they've eroded a little bit here, it looks like. But they probably sort of filled this in at one point, and then the erosion, of course, took over. But that sure looks like an abrupt transition, and this looks like red, where blood and tissue would have been muscle, basically. Okay, here's an update on the Sphinx. I claimed that the artery and so forth was shown, and even on the neck down here and up on the side, and I went through that, I think, fairly deeply a while ago. Now, this is from very, very old footage. This is from the turn of the 19th into the 1900s. And this crack goes all the way across the whole thing in the back, and that's the rump of the Sphinx. And then they filled it all in, and they did all kinds of things. Now, I am looking at this and looking at the materials and so forth that are below this, which appears to, it looks like they made some kind of facade around it, or on top of it, laminated it with what looks to be bricks, tiles. But when they restored it, they filled this all in, this whole big. But that would be, to me, basically where the rotation of the back would be. You know how a dog or any kind of creature at the very end where their butt moves up, you have to be able to wiggle your hips, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm seeing biology. Everywhere I look, I see biology. Was it one complete creature, or did they put a head on something? Now I'm starting to think it was just a complete creature. And they somehow, and I don't know why, and I don't know if they were they wanted to be made into statues. I have no idea. But they appear to have done this when they were actually living creatures and tiled them over in place. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they died, or maybe somebody memorialized them this way. I have no idea at this point. But I do know there was giants here that were very capable of making this into like a little, I mean, the giants would be working at this thing like that. Is that possible? I have no idea. None. All right, this was professionally restored and colorized, but it went back to like way, way, way back before they did any restoration. And that is I'm saying that's an artery. Colorized is red as an artery, and so is that. And that's how blood comes out from arteries. Arteries are wide open and they're weak. And this is what they call a superficial, right on the out. You put your finger there to see if a guy is pulsing. And this is right on the surface, and that's where they get weak. And that was a very, very long time ago. Okay, the picture I just showed you is something that was, restored and fixed up and colorized and all that. We're using all this new technology. This, he says, goes back 100 years ago. And they took all this lost footage, and that's what it's called, lost film footage of the Sphinx excavation found and restored, ancient architects. And that's what this is, Ancient Architects channel. And it's interesting, and I find biology here, very clear biology, to me. Okay, this demonstrates both features in one shot. You see how the whole back end of a lion can swish this way and that way? And then you see this bulge down at the bottom and not quite up at the top. Both of those things we find in that ancient footage.